extended hiatus. I am being joined by a new friend here, Caleb. Say hello to everyone.
Hey,
And we're going to be talking about Star Wars, the same setup as always. We might have new people, but we're going to keep that same style that you guys have been enjoying for the past few months. We're going to have three topics, three eras. First topic is going to be about the Clone Wars content that's coming to Battlefront 2 really soon. We got that roadmap unveiled, and we're going to find out what Clone Wars content we're going to be getting. We're going to be asking amongst ourselves, what do we want to see? And based on what we already saw and what our thoughts about it are so far. Then we're going to be moving on to the Solo movie, Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's been out for about a good month now. It's gotten us on this. We both like the film, and we're going to be giving what we think should happen in a sequel should they choose to do it. And then we're going to round out the conversation today looking at one of the more mysterious characters in recent Star Wars lore, that being Supreme Leader Snoke. As we know, he met his end with quotes there in The Last Jedi, and we're going to be breaking down that whole thing and seeing, is he really dead? But before we get to those, we got to talk about first Battlefront 2. We had the roadmap unveiled. I think it was yesterday or today it was unveiled, and we got an idea of what's coming to the game in terms of DLC content and that all-important Clone Wars season. But before I want to drop into the Clone Wars stuff, I want to ask you first, Caleb. Next month, July, we're getting Hero Starfighters amongst other game improvements. What are you looking forward to most in the July part of the update?
now that is a very good question. The July update is a very small one, but it does come with a few improvements that I personally like, such as swapping appearances pre-game. I really enjoy that because I feel that would actually boost skins being bought, because maybe you'd be on like Hoth, let's say, and you got like the Endor Leia.
Yeah.
You might want to change to that Hoth Leia if you end up buying that Hoth Leia, because you'll have choices to make.
Yeah, and I think
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's like really crucial because in the time I've played Battlefront, I've always, especially since the skins dropped here this past spring, one of the things I kind of like didn't really like was kind of like how you had to like pick it pre-menu and you had to like go for it until you went back and changed it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would forget to do it. You really wanted to, but it might slip your mind. It's like, oh, I wanted to change my skin really quickly, but I can't. I gotta wait until this long game of Galactic Assault is over. I gotta wait until this game of Strike is over, and then while you're waiting in that game, guess what? You forget again. So I think having that chance to swap pre-round is pretty cool. Even I kind of want them to go further on it and maybe do it like as you spawn kind of deal instead of just having to wait before
Yeah.
rounds, because even though cause some rounds can be quite long, especially Galactic Assault. If you get in a
Oh yeah.
point where it's contested forever, you get that OT that just won't end. It could be after that long, extenuous time of just playing and playing and playing and it not ending. It can get to a point where you're like, okay, I forgot to swap my skin again. Now I gotta play this whole round as this Aquilish, or I gotta play this whole round with this skin that I didn't really want to use. So I really feel
Now-
like that should
The
be
Order is not gonna let
something
this wreck go
that should be
lightly. Eliminate every last one of them.
Yes, yes. Now the other thing that I found really interesting about the July update is that the lightsabers being able to turn on and off.
I kind of was like,
Because
I like it because it's subtle, but it's like something that you kind of didn't know you wanted, but when you read it, it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of wanted that because that was in the first Battlefront where you could activate and deactivate your lightsaber, and it helps because a lot of people, you have those moments where you kind of want to get cinematic in the game and you want to like have the lightsaber deactivated and like create like a new element. It's like, oh, you're like running towards a group of stormtroopers or whatever you're fighting, and you just activate your saber before you get to the group. I mean, that's like really cool. So
Yeah.
implementing something so small, but it's like one of those little wonders. It's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted this, but now that they did it, I kind of like it.
it also adds kind of a stealth thingy to the game, because not only can it be cosmetically pleasing with skins and all that, but it can also help with gameplay, sneaking around, galactic assault, heroes versus villains, any mode that includes heroes. It could help with sneaking around because you won't have that lightsaber glow constantly going off, you know?
Humming in your ear. Like you get humming, like you hear the saber humming around the corner. It's like, oh yeah, he's right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially the glow with the saber as well.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, this is definitely one of those changes. It's like, oh, you didn't think you wanted it, but now that you have it, it's like, oh, I like it.
Definitely.
I can't
that's
wait
one of
to
the things I enjoyed about lightsabers in that first one.
Now, I know, as I also stated about the July update, this is something that I might be more accustomed to, because I just like you and among other people don't play Starfighter so much. But I'm definitely going to fall in the beginning over the past so I'm just getting behind the concept of like any fighter in the Star Wars realm has been really fun for me. But one of the things I kind of didn't like was the fact that like heroes played for Starfighter so it was kind of wasn't as abundant as it is in other games. So to have the Hero Starfighter game mode makes it debut pretty sometime soon.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
Because in Starfighter Assault, you'd be able to spawn in as a hero.
Yeah.
But it's not like a full-on kind of like heroes versus villains in space kind of deal.
Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how they do it, because on the roadmap it says it's a PvP mode. So, but I don't know if they mean it's it's just PvP or is there going to be objectives involved or anything of that variety. Because, or even how many people can be in a game at once. Because I think in total for both sides there's at least 4 or 5 different hero ships like that can be selected.
3 Falcons.
Yeah, you have 3 Falcons. You have Yoda Starfighter is on the hero side. Who else is on the hero side? Poe and
you have
X-Wings.
Talia's, the girl from The Last Jedi. You have her
A-Wing.
Talia Lynch's. Yes.
And I think that's it for the heroes. And then the villains, you got Vader's tie, Iden's tie. What else is out there? Boba Slave.
Balls, Scimitar.
Yeah. So there's like.
So you got a good selection.
Yeah. I think it can be 5v5. I want it to be 5v5 because like. Actually, it's 4v4. I just read it. It's 4v4, but I want it to be 5v5. I think it'd be. 4v4.
Bigger the better with these game modes. Hero combat, any sort of hero combat is liked upon the community of Battlefront. Personally, I love hero combat. I love going into kind of like the boots of iconic characters from Star Wars and playing as them, going into fights and all that, you know.
That's what the magic of these games bring. Is like being able to step into the shoes, or step into any time of Star Wars. It's like you want to be there, and that's what Battlefront 2 creates, especially now that it encompasses all eras instead of just the one like the first game. You know, the first game still made that work. You know, you still want it. Right?
Yes, but it didn't have all the eras.
Yeah. It's like one of the things when you're playing that first game, you really wanted to, while you know, like I said, it was fun to play it, but as you're running around as a Stormtrooper Rebel, there was always something inside you. It was like, I really want to run around as a Clone Trooper, I really want to run around as a Battle Droid, and so on.
That's exactly what this game brought.
Yeah, so I think it's very good, and I guess it's off to a rocky start. Even EA Dice admitted that the game hasn't got off to the start that they were hoping. But
yeah.
I think definitely we are getting on the right path. Is it better late than never? Is it too soon? Is it too soon or too late? And I think that falls inside of what you think about the game. But I think it's a better late than never situation. Like, at least we're getting this. And I want to get into August, and we're just talking about this whole thing because from August to winter, we're getting Clone Wars content. And we're getting Clone Wars content for the rest of the year, is what's planned here. Will it be?
And we're getting Clone Wars content starting in August.
Yeah. I think, but it's really good to see them dedicate a year's worth of this game, almost like a half year's worth of this game, to Battlefront 2, to the Clone Wars era, Battlefront 2. I really love it, and like I said, even if they don't have everything announced yet, they don't have anything planned yet, where everything's playing. I'm really digging what they've already announced thus far. We have
Exactly.
Obi-Wan and Grievous are coming in, Anakin Skywalker and Dooku are coming in. We're getting Geonosis for a map. We have a new large-scale game
Conquest
mode.
as well.
Yeah, like they're doing a lot, and it's not even done. Like there's still more to be announced. That's why I feel great about what's coming in for the future of Battlefront. And it's really, like I said, it's really good to look at it and say, okay, this is coming. But looking at what we have a good amount of stuff coming, but we don't know everything that we'll be able to play when this Clone Wars content drops. So looking at what we know we're gonna get, and eliminating that from your predictions, what is something that you want to see in the Clone Wars season?
I would love to see Felucia.
Yeah, that's a very good
Felucia, in my opinion, would look under the Frostbite engine that EA uses. It would look astounding with all the different colors of the. I wouldn't know if you would call it trees or plants, large plants, but fungi. Yeah, we can put it fungi. But it's all colorful, very kind of like energetic, sort of.
Yeah.
It has an energetic feel to it.
It's a hell of a war, and I think that's like another thing that Clone Wars has. Like, getting off track of this. The Clone Wars planets are like very colorful. You know, that kind of like represents design. It's like on purpose, but the Clone Wars planets are very colorful worlds, and seeing them on an HD engine would be absolutely amazing. So
We can't defeat
that I
the order
can't
today.
wait.
Retreat.
One of the maps I'm hoping we'll get there, and I'm pretty sure we'll get it. Actually, maybe in the fall update, since we're getting Kenobi and Grievous, is Utapau.
Utapau.
Episode 3 of Adventure Sith, first time we saw this planet. Big battles take place there. Obviously, that's the battle in which Grievous was killed and defeated. Kind of one of the last battles of the Clone Wars. And I think saying that they're going to bring this new large-scale mode, I think you need big maps for a new large-scale mode, obviously. So I think Utapau, being as big a map as it is, would be a great thing to add along with that new game mode. And we're getting clones.
And it may not be seen under the fall tab of the roadmap, but they did say that they'd be editing the roadmap as time goes on. So we may see the Utapau location pop up under there.
Because I would say there's one thing I did notice when like looking at it is they added maps where the heroes dueled each other. Anakin and Dooku, they dueled on Geonosis, and I actually have something else I want to mention about that when I get to that. But when it comes to Obi-Wan and Grievous, obviously they've dueled a lot of places, but their biggest place was Utapau. So I feel like we're gonna be getting that world, and I think the reason they haven't announced it yet because it might take a lot more time to make something like Utapau over Geonosis, because Geonosis, not saying it's not a complicated planet, but Utapau has a lot more to it than what Geonosis would have.
Kind of goes underground, and there's like various levels to Utapau. While Geonosis, it's kind of just another sand planet with a bunch of rock formations.
When you get down to Utapau, like Utapau is a city of craters. Cities within it. So there's a lot that would go into making a Utapau map. So I think they was going to polish it, get it ready, and then we'll see Utapau and all its glory sometime in the very near future. And what I was going to mention about the Anakin and Dooku thing, so they added their Geonosis map along with those two. And that's what leads me personally to think that when they drop for the game, I think they're going to be wearing their episode 2 gear. So I think we're going to get Padawan Anakin to start the game off when he gets his debut. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think we're going to get Padawan Anakin.
You'd think they'd put Revenge of the Sith, because those are kind of like their more iconic.
Yeah. And I'm saying
more
they're not
iconic
gonna get
roles of Anakin and Dooku,
I'm not
or
saying
Obi-Wan.
they're not gonna get it though. Like I know they're gonna put it because that's like the Anakin that's the most posted that talks about like that's the version you see when you think Anakin. Like you see that version. I'm not saying we're not gonna get him, but I just think the fact that they're adding him along with Geonosis, I think we're gonna well along with Dooku as well. The only time they've ever been on Geonosis together was with the Battle of Geonosis. So I think we're gonna be getting Padawan Anakin as the default skin. And we'll later see, or maybe even like as soon as it drops, we will see the release of Revenge of the Sith. And maybe
they did say they'd be adding a bunch of hero appearances.
Yeah, so maybe
so
Revenge of the Sith Anakin drops in the winter update, and we start off with Padawan Anakin for the fall season of the Clone Wars.
I'm all up for that.
It'd be cool, and I also like it because I think. It's the fact that we were all expecting when if they added Anakin, we were all expecting them to do the Revenge of the Sith skin.
Yeah, change up things a little bit.
Yeah, so I like that. There's a chance we might get Padawan Anakin. And also, I think it'd be like a cool little Easter egg if they have him fight with the green saber that he used in place of his blue saber. Remember, he got it.
Yes, in the arena.
Droid factory. Yeah, because he lost it in a droid factory previously, so he had to use a spare lightsaber that random Jedi gave him. And I would like to see him fight with that green saber. I think that'd be kind of cool. Nice little touch.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on there. But in terms of game modes, is there any game modes that you would like to see return along with that arc? You got Extraction back for the solo season, which is like really cool. So,
yes, and it's already confirmed that we're getting Conquest. Another game mode that I'd love to see come back is definitely Sabotage from Battlefront 1. That game mode, it was almost like a heroes versus villains, included with a blast, included with objectives.
It was a game mode that that's what really made that.
Yes.
It had everything you wanted.
It had a perfect amount of hero or like player count, so it wasn't sparse anywhere. It wasn't empty anywhere. You'd have heroes battling it out while you're going for the Tabana gas. And for the objectives, it doesn't have to necessarily be Tabana gas. They could change it up for each planet.
Yeah, because it could
but
be
I would love to see Sabotage come through.
Sabotage is definitely probably the best thing from the person. Is my favorite DLC. So Sabotage is obviously going to be like one of my favorite game modes that they added. So I would love to see it come back. I know some people might be on the fence about it, but I would love to see Supremacy come back.
Ooh, Supremacy.
Because I think at this point we're gonna be having large scale game modes. Because we have large scale like Geonosis large map. I think you want to have a game mode that can utilize large maps to their fullest.
Another game mode. They could because they could easily. Obviously, it's harder than it sounds, but they could rehash some content from the first one, such as Supremacy, bring it over for Geonosis, and have that as another large-scale mode that people can play at their disposal.
Yeah, because I think that what can become a problem is we have this large-scale game mode, but EA Dice, what they tended to do so far whenever they add a new game mode is put it on one map for a while. Then they'll add like another map later, but they've tended to only like debut it on one map. And I'm not saying that'll make the game mode get old, but it definitely doesn't help the game.
Yeah, because you'd like to have multiple maps, multiple locations where you can play that game mode.
Yeah.
Rebel forces
So
at
I
half
think
capacity.
adding a different game mode to go along with it, kind of like have like, okay, let's just have two options to play just. Like just playing this new game mode, which might be complicated. Playing this new game mode on this map isn't what I really wanted. So I want that, and I want Supremacy to be one of them. I want Sabotage to be one of them.
Sabotage and Supremacy.
Yeah. Maybe even Turning Point. I like Turning Point. Turning Point was like a...
Turning Point, yes.
It's like a, basically Supremacy was over here. Essentially. And I really liked it. I had fun on that game all day. So.
It was definitely a nice change because there'd be heroes running around everywhere on Supremacy and Walker Assault. And I remember there was this one point where there'd be a hero glitch where there could be multiple heroes running
yeah.
around on Walker Solar Supremacy. And that'd be very tiring, so maybe you'd want to go to Turning Point where you're gonna have to worry about that.
That's it. So just some variety is what we ask for when it comes to this film season. Really, when it comes to handling this whole season. So that
Definitely.
is about what we want to round out on that topic. I'm gonna move on to the Star Wars movie of 2018, that being Solo: A Star Wars Story. This movie was really good. Obviously got mixed reactions to a lot of people, but I think it's safe to say we both enjoyed it.
It was solid.
I think you took a liking to it more than I did, but we both enjoyed it. They definitely set the stage for a sequel. Now, as of right now, no confirmed sequel for Solo: A Star Wars Story, but
And let me make a quick note. With similar to Rogue One, the actors and actresses that played in Rogue One, they were signed on for multiple movies, and as we know how that ended, there wouldn't be another movie with those characters. So, and we know that Alden and a few others, they've been contracted for multiple movies as well, but due to Solo's failure in the box office, to say the least, it doesn't look like that a sequel would be the smartest choice for Lucasfilm to take route with.
But I wouldn't. I'm among the people that went to see Solo and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really good Star Wars story. Lots of.
It was definitely one of the better ones that Disney have made ever since they've obtained Star Wars.
There were lots of references to the Clone Wars show, like the brief mention of Aura Singh. Lots of references to Clone Wars elements, even like the mention of planets like Lucia.
Yeah, Lando said that one.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things that they hit on with Solo that were really fun. I think the only thing for me that I didn't like about the movie was they didn't really take a risk with it. They kind of like kept to the story we already know.
Yeah, they pretty much took the stuff we already knew about Han, but explained it thoroughly.
Which is, I was kind of hoping, like, honestly, I wanted that story, but it was like, I kind of want to see a different take.
It's an exceptional way to take the story of Solo, but of course, with Star Wars fans, people like to have risks, but not to the extent where it would ruin already established lore. So you have to, with the directors, you have to find like a perfect medium.
Yeah. And like I said, I enjoyed what they did. I still enjoyed it. Just wanted to see just a little bit more stuff, and even dive deeper into the smuggler life of Star Wars and just see more of that.
Personally, the life of smugglers and the crime, I find it more intriguing than the Jedi versus Sith.
Because it's a whole new branch. Because the Jedi versus Sith thing is something we see a lot. So it's kind of like, it's not getting doled out, but you want to see more than just the Force. Which is why I think Rogue One did so good, because it wasn't about the Force. It was about the Rebels versus the Empire. It was the war side of Star Wars. It was the British side of Star Wars. So I think that's really what made Rogue One work. So I think if you want to do something with Solo, take risks.
A breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So Solo, I think, just if they took more risk, I'm not saying like go over the edge and be like, oh, Solo was a Force user or something like that. I'm not saying things like that, but take risks. Throw some.
Yes.
Do something brave, like Lando served in the Empire too, or something like that. Like something to freshen it up. Just have some fun with it, and but I don't want to gripe on the film, because that's not what we're doing here. But I want to talk about sequel ideas, because spoilers if you haven't seen it, but it's been a month, so no spoiler too. But towards the end of the movie, we saw a certain Sith Lord turn his own faction, I guess you can say, return to the screen. his first Star Wars movies appearance since Episode 1 in 1999, but definitely not his first appearance in Star Wars. We saw Maul come back. Needless to say, it was a shocking return, because I don't think anyone was expecting it. But it happened. So, Maul is back in movies. Han Solo is on Maul's radar. I think we both know where this is going. The sequel, should they choose to do it, I think the most obvious idea would be Solo trying to get the heck away from Darth Maul.
Yes, but with that, you have to, because in A New Hope, it was already established that Han wasn't a big believer in the Force. So he may be running away from Maul, but they have to keep him away from Maul at the same time. He can't come in contact with Darth Maul.
So I think that's very key. Because also, even if he does come into contact with Maul, it would have to be in a situation in which Maul doesn't use the Force. Like
maybe like sort of a robed appearance.
Yeah. Like even
Concealing his identity.
Maul use the saber, but you have to have him use the Force, you know, because there were people who had sabers as relics and just throw around with them and threaten people with them. So, you know, maybe have him use the saber. Doesn't have to use the Force necessarily, but have something like have a conversation with Maul. Doesn't have to be too big, because obviously we know that Solo would survive the encounter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make that so far. No Maul would survive the encounter because he goes on to die at the hands of Kenobi. So we know they both would survive the encounter. So I think that's maybe why we won't see such a storytelling. We know the outcomes of both versions already. Like we know where they would end up. But I think
a thing that could play out in Solo is the discovery and the meeting of Jabba the Hutt.
yes. But you do know he is going to meet that gangster on Tatooine. That was also some of those movies before at the end of the movie. They were going to Tatooine. That's also a way to bring in Boba Fett and have their first movie.
Boba Fett. Yep. I would personally, I think it'd be really cool to see Han and Boba on the right foot with each other at first. Like they're not necessarily friends,
Like maybe
but at the same time they respect each other and they don't mind each other's presence. But something within the movie happens that explains Boba's distaste towards Han.
Yeah. So I think really like there are relationships in Star Wars that have plenty of them in the world, even some 40 years later after they've been established. Is that Boba and Han definitely one of them. So I think
Now, do you think there would be a time jump between Solo: A Star Wars Story and its sequel, or it'd go right after?
if I was to time jump it, I wouldn't time jump it. I wouldn't start it immediately after. I think the most I go would be like a month, maybe a month or two.
Let's go.
It establishes some time so it can kind of freshen up things.
Yeah. Or even maybe like do the Rogue One route. Have a quick prologue that like in one time period, then jump up maybe like a year or a month or two ahead to something else that's going on. You know.
That's what kind of happened in Solo, was where he gets separated from Kira, and then it goes, I think, 3 years in the future, where he's on Mimban with the Mud Troopers.
Ready to provide covering fire.
Like I said, maybe prologue and time, and maybe time, but I wouldn't do it like that. Cause I'm not saying I didn't like it, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of like mid-movie time jump.
Yeah, it happens a lot in other movies.
Yeah.
So obviously some people will find it repetitive.
That's why, so I wouldn't be, the biggest fan of like, oh, like here you are mid-movie, let's jump up 3 years. So I wasn't really fan of that. That's why I really like Rogue One, because they kept the time jump to the prologue. Like prologue was obviously the last, but the movie itself took place in this.
Yeah. Now, do you think Lando would come back in the Solo sequel, or do you think he'd kind of stay to himself and not appear?
I think Lando needs to come back because this movie doesn't explain why they're so good friends. Because if anything, you think they would hate each other. didn't know was gonna make
Definitely, because Han just won the Millennium Falcon back from Lando.
and it was after
And
Lando
earlier,
had abandoned them on
yeah.
Submarine. So this movie kind of
So obviously,
on like a bad end.
they'd have to
They have to reconcile.
establish their bond more. Yeah.
Like right now, it's like, oh, why do you two like each other? Because you two in the Solo movie did not get along at all. Cause like you would say in the beginning, maybe because like they just met and they were kind of acting all chummy to each other. But then after Han threw the Falcon and took away their Lando, it's like I don't like you anymore. I think the things took a drastic change, and I really think we need to fix that relationship more.
They definitely need to have Lando. Maybe
We've got this.
I don't think they'd have to do another sort of like gathering up a crew to do a mission kind of story plot, because they already did that with Solo.
Yeah.
They'd have to go for something different, but at the same time keep it crime and kind of like a Ocean's 11 heist, but not actually a heist because we already had a heist.
See, that's like the beauty of it if they do decide to do a sequel, is because this wouldn't be the origin story. Now we know the origin, so now they can do something new. They can have
do something else.
Yeah,
they explained practically everything about Han in the first movie that we know of in there. That was explained or kind of like hinted towards in the original trilogy. Here, you could still do him meeting Jabba, him confronting Boba, maybe a few other things, maybe a new lover, maybe he finds Kira again.
Yeah.
There's a few different ways you can go.
Like, also like, this is why he acted so snobby. Because like in Solo, he was kind of nice. He wasn't snobby. He was a nice guy for most of the movie. So,
He was sort of like a Luke almost. He was enthusiastic about stuff. He wanted to explore the galaxy and get out there and not be stuck where he was in Corellia.
But let's see why, why he has such a drastic change in character. Or does he do it for show, or did he actually like feel like his attitude changed? I think that's something that can be told if they.
Because obviously with the things that happened to him in Solo, it would mess a man up. But I don't think it'd be enough to have Han to where he'd be all selfish.
Yeah.
Where he is in A New Hope.
He helped these people liberate themselves from not the Empire, but he liberated them from a power that was a strong power.
And even after all the bad stuff happened to him, he helped out Empress Nest and gave her the coaxium load that they stole.
Like he helped what might eventually become the rebellion, or at least some rebel cell that's spread throughout the galaxy. So
Speaking of, they also endangered the heist earlier on Vandor, which resulted in obviously Rio and Val's death.
So you helped these guys after they killed these two people that could have helped you. So what led to this change? Like who is Han Solo as of right now? Just A New Hope, Han Solo. Who is he right now? I think.
And if they were to do this sequel, they'd have to get a middle ground. Because in Solo, you saw an enthusiastic kid, who's almost like Luke wanting to explore. In this one, you're gonna have to keep it not that, but you can't have him fully go selfish like he is in A New Hope. You have to find the perfect ground for Han Solo, and at the same time, you got to progress him with more events that occur in his life in order for him to become all selfish.
And I think, personally, the best way to do that, to bring forth that change, is the Kira situation. Because he is very clear that he very much loved Kira. That was his first love.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that Kira left him, sure. But he doesn't know why Kira left him. So he still has,
And if he did find out the reason why,
maybe
I think that would make him angry.
Yeah, because maybe that would cause him. It's like, maybe because I think what the situation can look like right now is, Beckett told him, don't trust everybody. But Han still trusted Kira no matter what. And I think maybe that.
Yeah, because they grew up together on Corellia.
Yeah.
They grew a strong bond.
So like maybe
And
now she's
just have.
left, and
Yeah.
he doesn't
And
know
after
why.
Kira betrayed him practically,
Yeah.
he doesn't know the exact reason for it, and
So maybe he still holds out faith that maybe I can still trust her. But finding out that why, maybe that can be the thing that destroys his faith in people. And maybe that's why he's not the most trustworthy person in the first season. Is because he
but
got
Beckett
betrayed.
as well, because he trusted Beckett,
Yeah.
and obviously you know how that ended.
But I think I think what makes it different with Beckett is first off, they didn't have that strong relationship with Beckett. Like, he trusted him, but he just met the guy. And also because of the fact that Beckett was always telling him, be wary. Oh, excuse me. But be wary of relationships. Be wary of who you trust. Han already has that thought of like, okay, this guy told me not to trust everybody. So when he told me, when he told me he betrayed me, I should have already had the sense to not really trust him, in a sense.
Yeah.
But when
But it's a whole different story for Kira.
Yeah, like when it comes to Kira, he grew up with this woman. Like he feels like, yeah, I can always trust her. So to have her betray him, he's gonna want an answer, and he's gonna always want to keep up hope that he'll get that answer until until the day that he can actually look her in the face and know why she left him a saber and that.
So that obviously means that Kira would probably have to have some sort of pivotal role in the second solo in order to explain more of his attitude that we see in A New Hope.
Yeah. And also, I think we need an explanation as to why Kira had such a direct line to Maul. Like, I know Dryden Voss.
How the heck did that happen?
Yeah, like, Dryden Voss was the boss. But it seems like when Voss died, Maul really quick to say, yeah, Kira, you are gonna come. So, like,
That kind of gets you thinking, like, what exactly does Kira have that makes Darth Maul want her help or aid, sort of?
Because I almost compare it to the Snoke situation in The Last Jedi, where it's like something important is lost. Like, Snoke, the first, Star Killer Base was lost, but he didn't seem to care that much. He just moved on to the next thing immediately, which was Kylo Ren for Snoke. But when it comes to Maul's situation, he loses Dryden Voss, well, he just moved on to the next thing, which would be Kira, without even batting an eye. So what's going on with what's going on with her that makes you go, yeah, I need you here. So
it's a very good question that gets you thinking.
Yeah. I guess the Solo.
There's many outcomes that it could go.
Solo has left the door open for many sequels. And I'm hoping we get at least one more Solo story
Because it got, even though it didn't do good in the box office, for a majority of the people who saw it, especially big Star Wars fans, they enjoyed it.
Yeah. Like, it's got good ratings. Last I checked, Rotten Tomatoes gave it around a 7.1. This is generally 70 ratings, which is pretty good. A lot of fans liked it. Around 20% fans liked it. It was a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's really I'd have to compare it to a movie that's kind of for Star Wars fans.
What's the plan?
This is not something you want to watch if you're fresh to Star Wars. I'll admit that. If you're fresh on Star Wars, you don't really know that much about lore and everything already, I wouldn't say.
Especially if you're fresh to Star Wars, Harrison Ford is a big thing within people who may not they may have watched the movies but aren't necessarily big fans.
Yeah.
So they may recognize Harrison as the only Han.
Yeah. So don't.
So that might, with Alden, it might throw them off a bit.
Yeah, and also the biggest thing is even if you're a Star Wars fan, but you only watch the movies, do a little research, watch Star Wars Clone Wars. If you don't want to watch all of it, watch at least season 4. So you understand why Maul is spinning before you, not trading that. Because I realized
Because the
that.
Clone Wars storyline with Maul, it's a very, very good one. I'd say myself.
I know a lot of people, quite a few people, were thrown off by the fact that Maul was alive when. And I had to kind of explain to him, like, oh no, if you watch the show, he survived.
Yeah.
Like, he did not die. So, keep that in mind. Kind of, wet your whistle is what I should say. Wet your whistle to Star Wars. Do some research. Because, like I said, the casual fan would have to do research. The hard, like, the real, like, the lore-driven Star Wars fans, they already know this because they kind of kept up with it. Because, like, I remember sitting there watching Solo, noticing how people were just quiet for a lot of moments that would make me go like, oh my god, really? Like,
because it would Easter egg into things that only, like, avid fans would be able to pick up.
Like, for instance, in the beginning when Val and the crew, when they were talking, and then Beckett signed up Solo, and Val was not very happy, and she dropped the name. She was like, we should just call it Bosk. Me sitting down, I was like, oh, like, Bosk gets a name drop. Everyone else is, I look around, everyone else is just sitting there, like, nodding, like, just plain faces, because they don't know who Bosk is. Even though he has been in a movie before, but they don't know his name because they didn't say his name.
They didn't mention his name. Yeah.
So all they know is like, oh, who's Boost? Or who's this boss character?
Boost.
When like even stuff like the Aura Singh name drop, or like stuff like that.
Definitely, that was a good one. Aura Singh is definitely.
It was sad.
You could know Bosk a little more than Aura Singh. Aura Singh, she was in episode 1, correct?
She was briefly in episode 1. I think she was in.
Briefly in episode 1.
Bosk was in Star Wars. Bosk was briefly in 5, but I think he was in 5 more longer than Aura Singh was in 1.
So you definitely have to be more of an avid lore fan in order to know who Aura Singh is.
Because you just see her briefly during the pod races, is when you see Aura Singh.
Yeah.
And you see Boston at her bounty hunter lineup, and he actually got like a moment where he was like specifically shown on camera because he was like growling at a couple of Imperial officers.
And it was nice to hear them mention Bosk instead of Boba, because at this point, Boba is probably still an amateur bounty hunter, and it was well established within lore that Bosk is a very deadly bounty hunter, but way more deadly than Boba was until obviously Boba took over that position.
I want to sidetrack here for a second before we get into the final topic. Bounty hunters, Boba was not like people. I'm not saying he wasn't bad. But people kind of overhype him in terms of like the level of bounty hunter he was. Because he grew to a level that was pretty strong. But I wanted people to take a look. If Boba was a bounty hunter during the time that his dad was a bounty hunter, he would be overshadowed by tons of people. Because this is the era where Dengar was young, Bosk was young, Aura Singh was around.
Where they were all, the Clone Wars was almost kind of like the era of bounty hunters, all in their prime.
Bounty hunters. Cad Bane was out there. You had these top tier bounty hunters that were all in their prime. They were young, they were able, they were driven. They were there to bounty hunt. Like that was their thing. And Boba came up where there's like not really any new bounty hunters because the Empire is in power, so they kind of do everything. They do all the dirty work themselves in a sense. So you have to look out. They have that problem, and also because of the fact that like as time progressed, these bounty hunters that were big in the Clone Wars, they're aging. This is 19 years later. Like Dengar, Bosk, he's a trained Ocean, so it's different from him, but he's still getting older. Aura Singh is dead by this point. Cad Bane, I think, died somewhere along the line before this point. So a lot of these top tier bounty hunters are gone. So Boba was kind of like the lucky one because he's still young. He's 20 something right now, at this point in time. He's young. He's fresh. He's able bodied. He has all this gear, and not to mention the fact that he's a clone of the best bounty hunter during that time when all these other guys were up and able.
So he just has the natural genetics almost. And speaking of Cad Bane's death, I believe that was touched upon in a kind of like a rough version of a clip where Boba teenage Boba and Cad Bane are on a standoff together.
Yeah.
And obviously, we see Boba and Cad Bane give off a shot towards each other, and then Cad Bane's pistol hits Boba's helmet,
That's the
which
that's
evidently saves Boba,
yeah, that's the
and
that's
it
in his
explains the
helmet.
dent on Boba's head. Or helmet, I should say.
But Cad Bane is not supposed to hold.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the, like I said, Boba came up in a time where it was like kind of like by default he had to be the best. But if he would have came up during the Clone Wars, he would really take the title.
And to touch more upon the Solo sequel, it'd be, with that, speaking of Boba and meeting him in the Solo sequel, it'd be nice to see a more, sort of like talkative and not such rugged Boba that we see in the originals, where he only speaks a few lines and says it in a really rough and intimidating voice.
Sounds like his daddy. He's good, that young one, good teenage Boba Fett. He's awesome.
It'd be nice to see a dynamic between them.
Yeah. So that's gonna wrap up that topic, and now we're gonna get into the final topic of the stream. As we're getting into new era stuff, one of the biggest moments from The Last Jedi obviously would have to be the death of Supreme Leader Snoke at the hands of not Luke Skywalker, not Rey, but his apprentice, Kylo Ren. A lot of people post this moment have had tons of thoughts about this. Some people saying that maybe Snoke knew it was gonna happen. People saying that Snoke faked it. And obviously those people that say that obviously have to believe that Snoke is still very much alive right now and will play a more pivotal role in episode 9. So my question for you is, looking at Snoke's situation, what do you think right now? Do you think Snoke died? Do you think it's something else? Are you looking at smoke and mirrors here for the Dark Knight?
When it comes to Snoke's death in The Last Jedi, I like to think of it as he did indeed die, but he lives on in some sort of afterlife. And I think it would be really interesting to see him and Luke meet in that afterlife somehow. And it can go in many different directions, because as you can tell, The Last Jedi was a very unpredictable movie with lots of turns and twists that we didn't expect. So seeing Snoke come back, because in The Force Awakens they built him up as some big baddie,
Yeah.
who is super powerful, because with all of the things that we've seen with explanation videos and what are those books called, with all the stuff that explains the movies that are the stuff, the visual guides. It explains a lot more about Snoke, and it really makes him seem like he's a really powerful person. So to see him come back due to him being really powerful, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Now, me personally, I think he's dead. Like, I think he's dead now, because I've talked about it before. It was a necessary death based on what happened in The Force Awakens and what happened in The Last Jedi in general. I think it's very necessary. But I'm gonna relate it to something I remember reading about long ago in Legends lore about Sith, or Darksiders, if you would, and what they're able to do in terms of their post-mortem life. Obviously, I think everyone knows the fact that it's Jedi are the only ones who have like post-mortem, because they become one with the Force and they can exist. But I remember in Legends they say Sith could somehow achieve this. Like, okay, so you know, obviously, technically Plagueis had it where he cheated death, but he never really died. But there's a different case with, I can't remember the Sith Lord that did it, but essentially he kind of was a spirit that was trapped in one location. You know, like
Kind of like a, I don't know how you describe it. Like, let's just call it like the Soul Stone from Infinity War, just trapped in that little thing.
I'm gonna say a fence or radius or something. Somebody
That's better.
like,
That's a better way to put it.
attracted. He's like attracted to like only one object or one place. Like that's what he became. He was attracted.
And it intrigues me how only Jedi are able to achieve this afterlife, but not Sith.
Which is weird.
Because both are things in the Force.
Yeah. So
It's just geared towards different emotions.
So like the sidebar net, what I kind of attribute to in terms of like how they view the Force was like the Jedi. The Jedi when it comes to death are accepted. And the Sith when it comes to death, they just don't want it to happen. Because the Sith, because I think what people kind of mix up.
There's only a few of them.
Yeah. But I think
Ever since the Rule 2 was established by Bane.
Because I think what people mix up when it comes to the view of the Sith is that they want to live. They don't want, like they saying like they want what the Jedi want. There's a very big difference in wanting to cheat death and wanting to have the ability. Sith don't want to die. That's them. It's not that they don't want to. It's what they want to cheat death. They just don't want to die. They want to.
Because they have a legacy to continue.
Yeah.
They have to make sure to keep only two and making sure not to die while doing it. Because it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
Apprentice kills master, apprentice becomes a master, the newly formed master picks up an apprentice and starts over.
It's up to that Jedi whether or not what they do. You know, like Woman says, rather.
They've taken
But
the
like,
move.
if you're the master,
Will
it's
not
up
like
to you
hearing
to say,
about
oh,
this.
let me get the jump on my apprentice before he can. If this is the apprentice, oh, let me get the jump on my master before he can jump on me. So that's something.
And I think it was well established in the visual guides that Snoke and Kylo Ren weren't Sith.
Yeah, it's like very clear they had their own dominion of the Force. Is there an exact
Which
name
is
for
very
the dominion?
interesting.
No, but yeah, it is very interesting. That's not an exact name for the dominion of the Force. I mean, honestly, like he created the Knights of Ren, but I want to call it a dominion of the Force. I really do. But as we progress more and more into this trilogy, and this is also one of the things I want to make a note about one of the things I think is lacking right now, is we don't know what they exactly are. Like, we know they're a Force.
We don't know what Kylo is. He's not a Sith, and certainly Luke Skywalker didn't really agree with anything that the Jedi were. So we don't know what Rey is. She's just some light side user, and Kylo's just some dark side user.
Yeah.
Because the Jedi that Luke once was is now gone since he's dead. And certainly Rey didn't have enough training to certainly get a grasp of who the Jedi were truly, of what the Jedi were truly of. And Kylo, on the other hand,
What's the plan?
with Snoke, it seemed like he was trained differently than all the other Sith were, because they had Praetorian guards all around. They had other people who were able to face Kylo in lightsaber combat. It wasn't just only him. Plus, they have the Knights of Ren as well.
Their armor constantly hurts them, apparently. Now, it wasn't even in the visual dictionary. This is in the novelization of The Last Jedi. Their armor constantly hurts
Really?
them. Like, they're in constant pain in their armor. Because when I read the sequence in the fight sequence that happened in the movie, obviously, where Rey and Kylo versus the Praetorian guards. In that fight sequence, Rey would think to herself, like, as she got close to that armor, how much, like, the resonance hurt her, and she could only imagine how much pain the wearer was in.
Oof.
So
That's rough right there.
Yeah. So the armored Praetorian guards actually hurt the wearer. So the people within that suit were in constant pain, which I think begs the question that Praetorian guards might have been force sensitive. I think that kind of begs the question.
It could possibly, because you have to
They're taking the upper hand.
be almost force sensitive to go against another force sensitive, because their swings are quick, they're deadly, and you're gonna have to be able to predict where they're going, where they're moving, where they're swinging.
So
It's not only. That's a good way to put it. Like, if you're a person who thinks about why don't they use the force while they're fighting,
they do.
it's a good way to think that they use the force to predict movements of their opponents instead of actually using like force push or force pull or stuff like
Can't
that.
afford to play this safe.
It's not like, oh, it's that. I mean, because it's also the respect of combat. The reason they don't really like just go out and be like, oh, I'm just gonna choke you with the force.
Starting assault. Fall in.
Like there's a respect of combat there, but also more importantly, there's the fact that they use the force when they fight. They use the force to power their movements. They use the force to, you know, predict what their opponent might do, or kind of see that slow down, like focus themselves during that fight. That's what they do. That's what you're supposed to use the force for, as like in a duel.
For all the predictions and empowering your movements and all that, yeah. That's what I like to think as well.
But we're gonna
But
live
with
it
the
up.
Snoke thing coming back,
Yeah.
with him,
I really wish we could've got
it's a very mixed opinion.
I really wish we
For
could've got to
me.
see him fight though.
hmm
And like see him in, cause the closest we've seen him to physical contact is when he shot that like first shockwave of Kylo. Of, like,
And it looked like he did it like it was a pinch of his finger. And it didn't look like he even thought of it. It just happened.
It was to me that was like an impressive display of power, even though it was just so subtle, because it just happened, and Kylo was automatically sent to his feet.
Now with Snoke's death, I think that when it comes to character development, I think he was just made to kind of progress Kylo. As bad as he sounds, with how kind of like built up Snoke was,
Yeah.
I think he was just used as an obstacle for Kylo to step over. Because he's now the Supreme Leader of the First Order.
I don't think that was the original intention. I'm not blaming Ryan Johnson, but I think that's what Ryan Johnson wanted to do with Snoke. Because he also wrote.
Because it was,
JJ wrote
I remember
7,
reading an article
Johnson wrote 9,
that,
8.
yeah, because they, didn't they have kind of like, they didn't really, it was kind of like their own project almost. Like, J.J. Abrams made 7, you're done. And now, you're not going to be there to help with 8, but Ryan Johnson's going to take over and do what he wants to do. So, maybe J.J. had more stuff for Snoke in mind, but Ryan had something different.
The Colin Trevorrow, who most recently worked on Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and the entire Jurassic World series, but he most recently worked on that. He was actually set to direct now, but he walked out after having 8, because apparently he didn't want Ryan Johnson to kill Snoke or Luke because he wanted. Obviously that didn't happen. So Trevorrow stepped down as director and J.J. Abrams came back.
That would have been a nice fight to see, though.
I think it was a fight that we were kind of over.
Kind of expecting almost, because it was, you knew Luke at this point was super powerful. He's old now. He's been training for the past, I don't know, 30 years, from 6 to up until The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And then you got Snoke, who is obviously displayed to be super powerful as well. And it would have been really nice to see some sort of showdown between the two powerhouses, light side and dark.
Towering figure over everybody. So like, see how he would fight. In a position where it's kind of like he already has the advantage. So what would he do to like further establish that himself?
Definitely.
Like,
It's just a shame to see Snoke. Shame to see Snoke go so quickly.
But I'm just glad it wasn't. No, it wasn't something. It wasn't anticlimactic. Like it was a moment that was very well built up to. Like it didn't just happen. So I'm very glad that it went. Even though he died, it still was a death that was.
Yeah, even though I didn't personally want him to die, if they were to kill him off right there, I'd want it to be built up and done in a certain way that doesn't exactly over dramatize. That's even a word. The situation.
I think I've heard you use this word. I don't know. I've heard you use it. Well.
Okay.
Like it definitely didn't play into the dramatics when they did that stuff. It was very good. And that is gonna about wrap it up here for MG Podcast number 8, The Comeback, is complete, and I think we had a pretty good time. We seeing this over here on the mixer, and I want to say to anyone who's watching this on YouTube right now, when it is uploaded, that if you want to catch it live and interact with the stream while we're live, you can head over to the mixer. Pretty much if you want to do it like every other, let's do it every other Saturday, I don't want to drama. Do it every other Saturday, right here on mixer.com/Rover725. Interact with us. We're doing Star Wars topics as usual. The MG Podcast, a Star Wars podcast. I like to talk about. Yeah, just head out over here, and we'll be discussing new topics and also updates for the channel. We recently hit 1,400 subscribers, so I am very happy about that. I want to thank everyone who has joined me on this journey of the Marauders Guild, creating Star Wars content for all of you. And in the celebration of this 1,400 mark, I will be trying to bring back Battlefront content to the channel. A lot of people enjoy the Battlefront content, so I'm going to try to bring it back. But you can definitely expect the what ifs to keep going strong. What if Luke Skywalker joined Rey in Last Jedi Part 2 will be coming in the upcoming week. Also, more what if series will be kicked off. But I can't keep them going if you guys stop sending suggestions, so keep them coming. I love them, and like I said, guys, stay tuned as the channel continues to grow with your help. So to end it on that note, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to press the like button and subscribe for more content. Ring that bell also. Until the next time, may the force of others be with you.